Hello, my name is Pra Paramaitnisaro. I'm a Theravada Buddhist monk, but it doesn't mean that I was a monk ever since the first day that I was born to the world. Before that, I was like every one of you watching this video. So, I studied computer. I was a computer geek. I really like computer, hardware, software. I really learned how to do programming. I studied computer for 10 years, my bachelor, master, and PhD. But one thing that I realized is, even though many people know about many different knowledge in their life, but they don't know about what is considered the software of human being, the mind. And I realized how important the mind was when I doing my PhD in Norway. At that time, I was a little bit stressed. And I feel like I could not think about many things. I could not do my dissertation. I was sitting in front of computer, Googling, and cannot think about many different things for days, for months. So I decided to do something with my own software, the mind. I didn't know how to meditate, so I tried to learn meditation for the first time. When I meditated for the first time, I thought it was impossible because I had so many different thoughts in my mind, and my mind was spinning like crazy. At that moment, I learned that in order to meditate, you just need to find a balance, and that's how I unlocked the meditation for the first time. I could really I feel really relaxed, I feel really happy. So when I finished my PhD study, I decided to study a bit more about meditation. I ordained as a Buddhist monk. And it's not very easy because monk life is not very easy as I thought. I struggle a lot, but also enjoy the time that I have for myself. And ever since I travel to different places and share with people, and people suffer the same way that I did. They could not meditate when they close their eyes, so I gave them some tips and I told them that you just have to relax a bit more, and they could meditate. And I've been traveling to different countries. In total, 52 countries so far in 10 years to share about meditation, about how they could meditate in an easy way, how they could remove stress from the mind and be a bit more happier. And many people can do that when they close their eyes. Every time when I see they open their eyes, I could see big smile on their faces, and that made me feel happy. And maybe that's the reasons I continue being a monk who I am today. So if many people around the world in different countries, different religions, different nationality can meditate, maybe you can do it too. So why don't you follow my program and we learn together, and I share with you how meditation can be very easy. You just need to learn some tips and you can unlock the myth of the mind. So you change your mind, you change your whole world. Let's stay together. Hello everyone, this is Monk John. This is my story, life, and today we're going to talk about a topic, how to achieve more at work. And this is a review lessons that I share with Google staff when I visited their office in Prague a few months ago. So welcome, and if you are here for the first time, you can also share your name, maybe the country where you're from, in the comment box, and I try to respond to your questions or any suggestions that you may have. And if you can hear my voice properly, you can also type +1 so that I can hear, I know that you can hear my voice properly and this is audible. So if you just arrived, please make sure that you type your questions, your names, and how that we can communicate with each other. So let's make it a little bit more interactive on the live page, not there, because when this is being shared to multiple pages and you respond to that share post or something like that, I can't see them, I can't see the comments. So you have to go to the main share page or the main live page. Okay, so this is my second live in 2019. The first one we talked a bit about mind harmony. So today I'm going to talk about another My Story curriculum. It's called Mind Success. If you're interested in learning the whole thing, maybe you can find out more about my stories curriculum that we are going to have multiple events around the world in 2019. Okay, so now I'm looking to see if anyone already have joined. We have Marco from, I'm not sure if he is in Colombia or maybe in Uruguay. Okay, so welcome. If you just arrived, please type the country where you're from, and also please type +1 if you already, if you can hear my voice, if this is well audible. Okay, so the topic today is how to achieve more, a secret formula for achieving more at work. And this is going to be a part of a curriculum called Mind Success. All right, and I'm going to point out two things because these two things are very, very connected to each other. First, how to actually be more mindful at work so that we can achieve more. And second, what kind of mindfulness practices that we can do at work so that we can boost productivity and we can actually improve overall performance. So there are two things, and they are both inside out and outside in. They are like connected to each other. The first one, how to be more mindful at work. And the second, how to implement some practices. What kind of practices, mindfulness practices, that once we done them, we'll be able to boost our productivity. Okay, so if our talk will be related around these two themes, now I think you probably have an idea of what questions you're going to ask me. All right, if you have any doubts or any questions, you can also type in the comments box, and I try to respond to the questions as much as I can. All right, so this happened in, I think, at the end of October when I visited Google offices in Prague, and we talked about this to the staff, and Google they already implemented mindfulness practices in the office. So the first question is, what kind of achievement do we need to have in our life, right? Because if we haven't defined the meaning, the definition of success is hardworking equivalent to success. Does it mean that you need to work more in order to achieve more? How do you define your success? If you have any idea about this definition, you can also share with me so that I know what is your meaning, what is your definition of being successful. So, does it mean that in 20 years you're going to work more than anyone else in the world? Or does it mean that you just work a little, but you actually get enormous result? So what is your definition of being successful? Is hardworking equivalent to success? Please share with me how. You can just type in the comment box, okay? So we already have, is that Rachana? Be mindful. Yes, we have to be mindful, but there are two things, all right? How to be more mindful at work and what kind of mindfulness practices that we can do. I think many courses, people are trying to talk about, increasing productivity. So they implement mindfulness practices, but eventually what is the real result or the real achievement? So now the first questions that they ask you is, what is your definition of being success in working? Okay, because Of course, you can have different aspects or perspective from this definition. But when we talk about work, when we talk about our career, how do you define success? Are you going to be very successful businessman by the age of 30? Or are you going to be like a famous scientist who have published multiple papers by the age of 40s? Are you going to be a politician? Well, what is your definition of this achievement? Okay. Then we have to find the next definitions as well. Achieving what, right? Because eventually, is this our contentment? Whether even me being a monk, how do I define my achievement? Well, let me tell you that before I became a monk, I never thought about being a monk at all in my life, because I studied computer and I thought that being successful, it means that one day I was going to own my computer software company. So that was my definition of being successful. I was going to make a project or a product or a platform that serves many people around the world. That was my definition of being successful many years ago. But ever since I become a monk, this definition has changed a bit. It has become how I'm able to find my own inner peace and how I'm able to share my inner peace with as many people as possible around me. So first I have to find that inner peace, and second, I will have to share with as many people as possible around the world. And this has become my definition of being successful at the moment. What about you? What about you? What is your definition of being successful? What do you need to achieve? Are you going to work more than anyone else in your country? Are you going to earn like being a top 10 businessman who earn the most in your country? Are you going to like eventually have a very nice, warm, loving family? Or are you going to be very, very famous in your field? Are you going to make a movie that actually around the world people are watching that? So what is your definition? So we got already from Amber. Amber, where are you from? Because okay, you share with me that your definition of being success means hardworking. Okay, Amber, that's nice. That used to be my definitions as well. That in order to be successful, we need to work as much as we can. But that is not all. We're going to actually explore other aspects of these successful definitions as well. Okay. So if you just join, you can also share with me like where you come from and also your country. If you can hear my voice properly, you can also type +1. All right. We also have one definition from Tanya. Having peace in everything she does. Well, this is very good. It means that perhaps now your field is a peacemaker, because being a peacemaker, it means that you need to find peace in everything you do, and also be in peace everywhere you go, and also have the peaceful mind all the time. That's perhaps your definition of being successful. Okay. All right. So let's explore another definition here. You know, the thing is that I visited many companies, and these days people started to think more. I visited a company, an IT company in Latvia. It's called Draugiem. The meaning of Draugiem means friends. Okay, so at first people also define being successful means that they actually works better and they can also earn a lot. But ever since they started to meditate, the definition has changed a bit, because they started to think that even though they have to work for 10 years, for 20 years, for 30 years. But what is the point of working so hard and eventually you have to wait for 20 or 30 years later to be happy, right? So they started to think more and they asked me, we have different meditation clinics together. And eventually many people found out that they can be happy the whole time. They don't actually have to wait for 10 years. They don't actually have to wait for 20 years to be happy, to achieve something, to be happy. As well, I also visited a company in Ireland. This is called teamwork.com. And they work very hard because at the moment, teamwork.com is one of the platforms that compete in the global level, in international level, to be like a suite for people that work together from different places. I really enjoy what they work because I also from that field, and when I look at how they created their systems and their mobile applications and also their website, it was really exciting. But I asked them the same questions. Some of the employees never thought about it before, that the definition of happiness somehow in their mind and the definition of happiness that I gave during my talk were quite different. Or even though we talk about contentment, but somehow my contentment is in the present, but their contentment, many of them, they thought about the contentment in the future, which is completely different, right? Even though the definition is the same, but how come that you have to wait for 20, for 30 years to be happy, while you can be able to do that anytime? Another company, Google in Prague, which is the lessons I'm going to share with you today. We visited this Google office, and the unique thing is that Google is one of the companies that already have implemented mindfulness in the workplace. They even have a program called Search Inside Yourself that helps employees to discover how mindfulness practice is going to help them in order to increase productivity, in order to be a bit happier and enjoy the working time and so on. So this is one aspect that I mentioned earlier, because there are two aspects we're going to talk about today. How to be more mindful at work. And second, how mindfulness practices are going to help us achieve more at work. Well, the first and the practices that people do in Google, they tackle mainly, I'm not saying that it's exclusively, but mainly about how mindfulness practices can help you achieve more, can help you be more happy, can help you boost your productivity. So they have sets of mindfulness practices to help this, to make this possible. And the last one is a mobile company in Slovakia that I visited, Orange. I think they have also like offices worldwide. It's a mobile company, and many people never thought about mindfulness. They never heard about meditation. I asked, like there was a room, it was 40 people over there. Very few have practices meditation before I arrive. Okay, so you can see that even though these days many people are talking about mindfulness practices, but understanding or the purposes of using mindfulness, or the purposes of, or even the definitions of the word mindfulness here, they are different from places to places. Okay. Well, let me share with you. First, I'm going to talk about the aspect of how we can implement mindfulness practices in workplace in order to achieve more. And second, how to be eventually more mindful at work or in our life in general. Okay, so let me check again. We have Catherine. Catherine, I'm not sure where you're from. Okay. Yeah, looks like you are from, is that Philippines? The Philippines? I'm not totally sure. Okay, you can correct me. And Catherine shared that she does know reaction technique, and eventually things become subtle. That's good. Okay, she's from Iloilo and the Philippines. That's great. That's great. We're going to talk about some technique in order to help us to be more mindful, which Catherine just shared with us. But that is going to be for the second part of this talk. The first part of this talk, how we implement some mindfulness practices in order to achieve more. And when we talk about achieving more, this is not only about our work. So let me share, there are like 4 main aspects of achievement, okay? The first aspect of achievement we talk about today is about our, well, this is not going to be like based on which one is more important than the others, but we're going to talk about like how they're very close to us. The first thing that is very close to us as well is our health, our physical well-being. This is something that people usually forgot because they only focus on like money, on productivity, on fame, reputation, and market share, and so on. But eventually, you work a lot in order to earn money. But if you have to use the money to pay the bills, to pay your medical fee, to pay for those medication, what is the point of working so hard and eventually you need to use all of the wealth in order to buy your own health, right? And this has become one of the topics as well, which we normally talk about in a curriculum. It's called Mind Harmony. How to make our work and our life more balanced. I'm not going to talk in details about this Mind Harmony today, right? But I'm just sharing with you that this is one of the aspects. We need to be more mindful in our physical well-being as well. Every day you work, you're not going to notice that your body is also changing, right? From Monday to Friday, because the change is very subtle. You don't actually know, it's like you're driving a car on the first day that you just got from the garage or from the company, and the car that you drive maybe 5 years later. It is just the same car, even though it probably works in the same way, but the conditions of the car is not the same. Our body is similar. So even though we might still be able to work the way we used to do last year, today, this year, we might be able to work the same way. But our body is not the same. It means that when you sit in front of a computer and you try to keep your back straight, you try to maintain your posture the whole time, but somehow at the end of the day, you ended up having more pain, having more fatigue in your body than it has never before. So we also need to evaluate up on our physical well-being all the time. So that maybe at work, you need to spend some time to stretch. You need to spend some time off your workplace, off your chair. Maybe you have to walk in different parts of the company, working while standing, not only sitting, and also take a break from your computer, okay, as well. And the second thing here, the physical well-being aspect is not only about health, but it is about how you, your hygiene, and maybe if you make your hair properly, if you have your hair cut or your dress, have you washed them, or you always wear the same dress, you never taking a shower for a week, you never shave, and everything look messed up, and you end up like someone who's been living in a cave for 2 weeks. Or maybe you even sleep in your workplace, you even sleep in front of your computer, you eat over there. That is probably not acceptable, right? Like, okay, your work is just in front of computer. You sleep over there, you wake up, you just switch your body a little bit from lying down in order to send your first email right from your workplace. And we didn't even talk about the possibility of these days we can use mobile phone in order to work. Some people, they can do everything from their mobile phone. I cannot do that, okay? I need to use a bigger machine because I'm probably used to that. But some people, they can do everything from their mobile phone. It means that they can work anywhere, anytime. Because of that, we are very addicted. And many people are very addicted to working. They keep working the whole time. They forgot to take care of your body. Because working with the body, well, let's admit that it's not very fun. You need to actually break a sweat. You need to be on the treadmill for an hour, for 2 hours, and you can't actually see the differences every time you work out. Okay, it has to be like a few weeks, it has to be a few months, or maybe you have to wait for a quarter that you can see the changes in your body. This is not fun at all. And as a result, many people are not mindful that their body is changing. Need to take care of this very well. So this is the first aspect, mindfulness in physical well-being. Okay, because otherwise, I'm going to talk about this later, that if you haven't taken care of your body very well, eventually this responsibility is going to turn into a problem that we have to take care, or maybe someone else have to take care for us, and we have to pay them a lot, right? So you earn a fortune for your body, and eventually you can't even use that money to change your brain, to remove your teeth, or maybe to change your heart, because your heart is going to be weakened, right? Well, every time I'm talking about this topic, someone probably have like an idea, yeah, let's quit my job. But that's not it, because even though you might think that my health is very precious, my body is getting worse every day, but you can't just also let go of every other responsibility just to focus on your body alone, okay? Because otherwise, life isn't balanced. So let's talk about the second thing. We also need to be mindful in relationship. But this relationship, I'm not going to focus on the relationship between like a boyfriend, a girlfriend, or a partner in a family. But this is a relationship. This is about relationships in workplace, between your boss, between your colleagues, between your peers. Because if you focus too much, you're very mindful about your work, but every time you talk about your colleagues, you just say, hey, you suck. And because you do this, our project failed, and I don't care about you. All I care is about my work, it's about my performance, it's about the whole project, and so on. Well, no one is going to like you, right, if you start talking like that. As a result, when we actually consider mindfulness practices in workplace, mindful about our communication, mindful about our relationship with our colleagues, this is one of the things that we need to be very careful as well. You know, at the end of your maybe working position, or maybe your contract, by the end of it, if you never really made any friend at all, if no one cares about you, you care about nobody, well, even though you earn a lot, at the end of maybe by the age of 30, 40 years old, you earn a lot, you have a lot of money. But eventually you feel that even though you make a fortune, but when you have no one around you at all, your life is going to be very, very lonely. And that is going to be a very toxic environment to live in, because as a human being, we need to live in a group, or we need to live in a society. We can't actually just live our life alone, because our life needs to be meaningful to at least two people. First ourselves, and then second others. At least one person, right? In order to feel that fulfillment in life, that it is not only about us alone, but people around us as well. So, mindfulness in relationship, in workplace, between colleagues, when, and one thing that I think this is very, very important. You need to work in a bigger project. You can't do that alone. You need to have some help, right? Teamwork is very important. And how you manage to work in a team, if no one likes you, if you can't actually have a good term with anyone at all. Think about a professional sport. I think Michael Jordan, I'm not sure if you know him, he's a very famous basketball player. So there is a debate whether he is a GOAT. Well, it's not like an animal GOAT, but GOAT in this sense is greatest of all time basketball player. So even though he stopped playing for more than 2 decades, but people still know him because he became like kind of the first international figure that everyone in the world knows. He actually mentioned, and I think this is also mentioned by many professional athletes as well, that if you play great, if you are a very good player, you can win a game. But in fact, teamwork let you win a championship. Again, if you're a very good player, probably you can, there can be many other players that could beat Michael Jordan. I'm sorry if you're watching this, Michael Jordan. I'm not going to be respectful for your performance. I was your fan actually before my monkhood career. I really like how you play, but there might be some other basketball player who could beat you in some plays. But when it comes to championships, there are very, very few people who earn more than 6 championships in the NBA, National Basketball Association in the US. Very few people can earn at least 1 ring. And very few people can earn at least 3 rings or 3 championships. Very few, very, very few at all can earn 6 rings. And Michael Jordan is one of them. And he mentioned that, of course, Michael Jordan didn't win every game. Some games he lose, and even eventually that was some game was even on purpose. So he didn't play because he needed to rest in order to prepare for bigger games or for more important games. But that kind of teamwork, when you play a basketball game, you can't play 48 minutes straight. You can't play all 4 quarters without resting. That is going to be like killing, and probably not good at all when you have to work, when you have to play 82 games in a year, excluding the playoff, right? So you need to also depend on your teammates to help you. So mindfulness in relationship is going to help you to achieve more. So by the end of your project, by the end of your career at one working place, if you earn, if you actually made so many friends, if everyone loves you, and you stay in their heart even though you stop working for 2 years, every time you step back in the working place, in the same office, they always welcome you. They always wanted you to return. Even though you are far away, they're going to be missing you. Even though you are close, they really remember all the time that you spend together. So this is really mindfulness practices that we need to perform in our working place. Okay, and the third one is mindfulness in working, of course. And this working, it means that we implement some practices. Okay, I'm not going to go into, of course, I'm going to give some examples, but there are 4 principles that everyone needs to pay attention to. I'm checking the comments, so if any of you have any particular comments, from Buns, he said, many people got stressed from work. It would be good if you could all work happily and joyfully while being more productive, of course, right? So eventually achievement, because the topic of this talk, how to achieve more. Achievement is not only about success, it's not only about money, it's not about reputation, it's not about fame, but it is about how you actually earn 4 things at the same time. One of them is your physical well-being. The second, your relationship with your colleagues, your friends, and even your boss. You have a good term with your boss, and he or she is willing to hire you back anytime when you want. Wouldn't it be wonderful to have a relationship like that, right? And the third one we're talking about today, talking about at the moment, is how to be more mindful with our work. Now this is real work. Then there are 4 principles. First, you need to have passions in what you're doing. You know, if you don't understand the purposes of your work, if you don't understand why you need to work on this, then nothing else matters, because eventually the most important thing is the motivation. And how do you actually find that motivation? Are you going to depend on someone else to give you always the motivation, or going to create the motivation by yourself? It would be the best if you can actually motivate yourself in order to pursue your goal, pursue your dream, and that is called passions. That is called belief. If you really believe that a project you're doing is going to be 100% or 200% successful for sure, then that is already halfway to the goal. If you're doing something and you don't believe in it, if you're doing something but you don't like it, then there's no way it's going to be a massive success in the future. So you need to like what you do, even though you're very good at that, but someone forced you to do. Your mind is with something else. If you don't like something, your mind never going to stay with that thing. So this is very, very important to develop a passion, to really believe in what you're doing, to believe in your company, to believe in your project, and eventually to believe in your boss, right? If you don't believe in your boss, if your supervisor, every time he says or she says something, you're going to reject that in the mind, or maybe out loud, who knows, right? And that is going to be very good when everyone works together. But that's not only it. The second, you need to persevere. If you believe that you never try hard, you never put more effort into working better, into, if you have a dream, if you have a company, but you spend only 2 days in the company and 3 days you're going to just enjoy yourself at home, maybe you're going to do something else, that is not going to be successful. I think Elon Musk says one thing that's very interesting. He says that you want to be successful, you need to work more than 80 hours a week. That's more than 10 hours a day. That's really possible. He said, you're going to make something at a global level, international level, worldwide level. You can't actually achieve that without working. Well, you might say to me that, well, I'm kind of contradicting to this, because I mentioned that we need to consider our health, and now I say that you're going to work 80 hours a week. Well, you can work less. It probably doesn't have to be 80 hours. But you need to understand, if you work only 10 hours, 20 hours, it's not going to be enough if you want to be successful. So, to the eyes of many entrepreneurs or well, many like billionaires, there's never going to be work-life balance, because eventually you need to put more attention on some aspect more than others. But at least you try to do something. I'm not saying that in your whole week you're going to spend 25% on your health, 25% on your work, 25% on your relationship, 25% on your mind. It's not going to be a perfect formula or a perfect number for that. But at least if we invest our time, not 100% on work, but few percentage or more on our health as well, we're going to be able to maintain and not going to cause us as many problems. And if you can find someone to work for you, that's perhaps the best. But even if you have to find someone to work for you, you have to work harder than the person in order to make everything works. All right? So the third one is you need to concentrate. But let me tell you one thing. If you really believe in what you're doing, your mind is going to stay with that thing the whole time. So concentration or mindfulness, this one doesn't even need meditation. If you really believe in what you do 200%, keep thinking about it in the morning. The first thing you think about it is your work. The first thing you think about is your project. The first thing you think about is someone else waiting to use your product. If all day long you can be thinking about it that way, this is the concentration we're talking about. You don't actually need to talk about mindfulness in terms of meditation practice on this aspect at all. But I'm going to share with you. Okay, the next one is you need to be able to observe and to actually correct some mistakes, to be able to restart and redo it as quickly as you can. So you're not going to keep failing. You can come back to be very competitive with your competitors. Okay. So with these four principles, there can be different practices as well. Okay, I'm going to give some of the mindfulness practices, and this is something that we got as well from many companies these days. The first one is to be more organized. If you never really be able to organize your files, your folders, your desk, your workplace, everything look messed up the whole time, then work is not going to be very, very effective. You're going to spend more time trying to find something instead of being able to use that file, that picture, video right away. If you never really invest your time into organizing your files, your work, you never talk about, you work on a project, but if your project doesn't have like a project Gantt chart, for example, or these days people use Asana, or people use Slack or any collaboration tools in order to make everything more structured. If your project has no structure, you never be able to keep track of your project. So these are mindfulness practices that help us to achieve more at work. It might sound like a little investment, especially if your project is still very small size or it's not good enough, so that you think, oh, if I have to invest my time into doing these things, that might cost me a lot, or maybe I'm going to spend many hours. But believe me, if you really want to do something very big, you need to invest your time into putting a kind of a structure into your project. And the second thing, this is an example from my success, okay, from the curriculum, my success of my stories. I'm going to share with you as well. One thing is to have as less distractions as possible. And one practice, people talk about zero email, how we can actually handle and be able to start or end a day with nothing left in the inbox. So you'll be able to answer everyone who actually send some messages to you without having to wait. So everything happens instantaneously all the time. Not easy at all. How many people in your workplace who manage to implement this zero email principle in life? Probably some, but very few. But usually those people have one thread in common. They're going to respond as quickly as they can. So they're actually not going to wait for 2 days or 2 months in order to remember. I'm bad at this as well, because these days I spend much less time on answering emails, and there's still some emails coming into my mailbox. Well, that's not easy, but it's worth a try. In order to implement zero email scheme, one thing that you have to be able to do is to have as little distractions as possible. You're going to have many distractions. You probably subscribe to 200 sources and you receive 50 emails every day, or more than 50 emails. Anyone that are watching who probably receive more than 20 emails, can you raise your hands? Sorry, can you type in the comments that, yeah, I'm one of those who receive more than 20 emails a day, and maybe 10 of them is their newsletter that I subscribe when I visited those online stores, or maybe it's different websites. Probably you never really read them at all, right? And they take space in your mailbox, and they are there. And when you're going to find some important emails that are very critical to your work, you can't find that because there are so many of them over there. Okay, so try to avoid distractions and try to stop procrastinations, because if we procrastinate, we're going to do some work later on. Every time you procrastinate, you already give less priority to that task. You probably do not remember after a few weeks. If you never jot them down at all, you never use any tools or anything, things that has less priority in our mind will likely to fail or will likely to be ignored. Of course, if that is on purpose, probably that's not going to be any problem, because you have different priorities in life as well. But those who procrastinate, they usually give very low priority to something that they procrastinate. And if you talk to someone, if you talk to your friends, and your friends just answer, yeah, I'm going to do that, but later. One thing that comes to your mind is, perhaps I should do it myself. Because later, for many people, is never. It's not going to happen, because they give very low priority to that. Okay? So the last one is also to avoid having too much expectation. Having too much expectation or misunderstanding really going to lead us to suffering, because we need to maintain some certain level of expectation. But if we expect too much and we can't actually understand with our reality, with the amount of people we have, with the amount of resources we have, when we have too much expectation, we're not going to be happy at all, right? So this is the last thing, mindfulness in mental well-being. We're gonna be actually very, very careful as well. Everything we do at work leads us to stress. Well, sadly, even though I'm a monk, it doesn't mean that my days will be without stress the whole time. There are something that I have to handle. There are also activities that we have to rush against time, and everything leads to little stress, But of course, sometimes we don't call these things stress. We call them more like a little motivation or little constraints that we put to ourselves so that we can improve ourselves. If you never actually face tough opponents, how you become a good fighter? If you never really evaluate your fighting skill against someone who is bigger or some problems, this is tougher. So obstacles or problems make us stronger. And because of that, when we have to fight with something stronger than us, we might actually have some fear. We might actually have some, like expectation that is not met. And eventually that leads to misunderstanding and leads to stress that we cannot accept this. We want to have it better, but we can't have that. This stress is being stored in the mind. And when the stress is being stored, piled up in the mind, become huge, it's going to be like a little bomb that is ready to explode at any time. So, what we can do is we need to be mindful about this. By the end of the day, you can also, one thing that I would highly recommend you is when you stop working at the end of the day before leaving your office, leave your work there and never really carry stress back home. But you're going to carry a bomb that probably you might accidentally drop it in your house and everything is exploded, right? And that is not good for those who do not understand at all what you face in your days. People don't understand that your boss yelled at you 10 times today and your clients called you to say to you that your work was not as good as before. And there are a lot of complaints that you receive, and when you work on your computer, it suddenly didn't function. If you never really explain those to your family, to your partners, and you actually direct negative energy on them, that is probably not good at all, right? In the relationship aspect, especially in we talk about harmony in our relationship. So mindfulness and physical well-being, we need to evaluate every time. And that is one practice that even when I talk about this at Google, they really implemented this. But we implemented it in a different way. For example, in Google, they have what they call G-pose. There would be someone who, and this actually surprises me because I thought that in Google, everything is going to be like computerized. They're going to use technology, so everyone has an app, there is a notification, hey, you have to meditate. But they just use people, and perhaps that is even more effective, because if you use an app and your app has notification, yeah, it's time to meditate. Many people will just ignore the notifications, keep on working, and it's not going to be very productive or very effective at all. So they use real people, and these real people is going to walk from their desk to multiple desks. And in Prague, Google have 40 employees. So walking to 40 desks by using 2 or 3 people is not going to be a huge effort at all. And they managed to convince people to have the practice. And in Prague, they use, I think, actually we have a picture of me meditating in Google Prague, and this is the picture. Actually, they have this, even though without my visit, they already been meditating every day, and at least 25% they meditate regularly in this group. So they really care about the mindfulness in mental well-being, because they know that eventually it's about their happiness that matters. So yeah, it's just a blessing to be able to work in a place like that, where everyone cares about mental well-being, not only themselves but the peers. So when I was in Google, we meditated 2 times. The first one is just 20 minutes, and the second one is about 40 minutes. And the result was amazing, because it's not because of my power. Again, I don't have any supernatural power. Hey, let me send my power to your mind, and today your meditation is going to be superb. Well, this was very good because they've been meditating every day. Many of them been meditating every day. Many of them joining a meditation group once a week. Wasn't it wonderful? So it is so wonderful that they can actually do this together, because you need to have a little motivation. I would say meditation is not easy when you do it alone. Why? Because you have a little voice in your head which you listen to the voice alone. No one else understands what the voice talks to you, and usually the voice says, yeah, you still have a lot of work in front of you. Don't do that. Don't meditate yet, because there's so many work, so many projects, so many assignments. If you work on this now, you might be able to finish tomorrow, but if you meditate spending 20 minutes, maybe it's not going to be on time. And people just ignore this, and the level of mental well-being drops without them realizing themselves, until they have to end up being in front of a psychiatrist who will conduct some treatment, which they could have done that to themselves. Just be in front of a mirror. Ask yourself today, am I happy? Am I feeling fine? And if the answer is no, you have to be honest, yeah, today I don't feel good at all. And just be honest with yourself, so you can prescribe yourself at that moment. Yeah, let's close my eyes and let go and meditate for a moment. Well, Google has G-Post, but in many workplaces that I visited, we have another scheme we call 1 hour, 1 minute meditation practice. Every 1 hour, we have an alarm, and we're very committed to that alarm. Whether it's just a bell, a gong, or maybe some notifications in an app, but we use a Raspberry Pi connected with intercom systems, and the Raspberry Pi is going to play created with Python. In MP3, actually that MP3 is going to say some mantra for 1 minute every 1 hour. Everyone listen to the intercom, the communication. And once we listen to the voice that happens every 1 hour, we close our eyes. We let go of everything else at all, okay? And this is going to be very, very, very effective. Especially it helps you to learn how to let go. Usually we can't let go, right? So easily. When you close your eyes, the same story, same problems, same challenges, same people keep appearing in front of you, in your mind. You try to take them away. Hey, I don't want you. Don't come to me. I'm going to meditate. But the same people, same story, same thing keeps appearing. We can't let go that easy. Why? Because our mind is weak. Second, we never really try to practice anything, letting go at all. So when you close your eyes, 1 minute only, every 1 hour, even though you were in the middle of a very, very important communication, or maybe you were a very important call, sometimes you can say to your to the other side that, hey, now I have to meditate 1 minute. Could you please hold the line? Or maybe you can meditate with me. Let's close our eyes and listen to the silence together. I usually do that. Even though I was in a very important call, and I said to the other person that, hey, let's close our eyes and meditate for 1 minute. And that works. It works wonderfully, because at the end of that 1 minute meditation, we seem to calm down. And before it was like fighting over it was something that we want to achieve. The project has to be this way, that way, and you have to follow my idea and so on. But after the meditation, the conversation, once the call was hung up, or once the reminder of 1 minute meditation is over, and it's like we were smiling to each other, even though we can't see that, So this is very, very, very important. The four aspects of achievements at work. By the end of your project, by the end of your career, by the end of your contract, or maybe by the end of the year, if your health is better, if your relationship with your colleagues is improved, if you manage to also boost your productivity and get some compliment from your boss, or the sales is going up, and you also feel happy every day, isn't this wonderful achievement that we can do in our life? So we don't actually need to find that achievement. You don't actually need to set incentive like, yeah, I'm going to work for 3 years, and after these 3 years, I'm going to spend 1 month in Bali, in Thailand, or maybe in Bora Bora Island, in Fiji, or in Maldives. I'm going to buy myself the most luxurious vacation ever. And you wait 3 years just to be happy for 3 weeks or for 1 month. That is not going to help you at all. Even though you are there, you never really get to remove problems from the mind, because the problems are always in the mind. So even though you travel far away, you never really let go of the problem from work and leave them at workplace at all. You always carry the problem with you. And that's why mindfulness practices at workplace is going to be very helpful. You've never really done that. These 4 responsibilities are going to turn into 4 problems. And that is going to be, like sources of unhappiness in our life. Maybe today I'm going to finish my talk here, because we have 2 aspects that I intend to talk about. First, what kind of mindfulness practice is going to help us achieve more in our work, and how can we be more mindful even though we have to work a lot? Okay, so the second part, we can't have it on time today because it's already 1 hour, and probably I will just spend my time. If you have any questions now, I'm going to answer your questions. Okay, Derek, yeah, nice to see you here today. And all right, okay, so maybe you will watch this later, and with NCAA basketball, it should be overtime, valuable for staying late. Are you working in an NCAA basketball? That would be interesting. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Of course, if you have any questions, please share with me now, and maybe you can also type your questions here so we can answer them later. Okay, or maybe next time when we do. We're planning to do a weekly podcast. It means that every questions you post in my story group will be filtered, will be chosen, will be prioritized, and also will be covered by me and other monks weekly. So you can also share your questions, if anything that you like to be answers, or you like to get some comments or some suggestions, post them here, or maybe you can also send via mailbox to our staff, and they're going to handle that. Okay. And we have again from Amber, do you have any advice to our meditation during stressful situations, whether at work or she can't sleep at night? Well, meditation actually helps a lot when you have difficult time. But when you have difficult time and you never really practice meditation at all before, it's going to be tougher. It's not going to be easy. Okay, it is like this. Even though you are a good professional athlete, you need to practice. So practice is very important. right? If you want to compete in a very, very difficult tournament, maybe you're going to fight in boxing against super heavyweight fighter champion, then you need to prepare for that. Meditation is exactly the same. Preparation helps you to overcome such difficult moment. But sometimes you never really practice at all, then an ability to overcome difficult moment with meditation will be less. So if that is the case, so my first suggestions, again, practice. So once you encounter a very difficult moment, you don't actually feel that it's too difficult for you or it's impossible. And second, if that is not the case, you didn't practice at all, but today you really need meditation, come on, help me. Then my suggestion is, of course, you need some help. If you meditate alone and that doesn't work, you can also depend on some MP3, or maybe you can download from the website, you listen to guided meditation. That is going to be helpful. But please choose a very simple track because there are different depth of meditation guides as well. Some are very advanced and you can't actually follow that. Then you need to come back to the basic, and that basic is just relaxation. So think about meditation as a way to relax your body and to relax your mind. And first you relax your body, and second you relax your mind. And even if you can put your mind to rest, that is the biggest achievement for meditation practice already. So don't expect more, and don't expect that if you never really practice for 3 months, you will be able to achieve the same meditation result as you had last year. That is not going to be possible, okay, Amber? So I hope this explains your challenges and also helps you to maybe overcome that difficult moment. Okay, so today I have this new background and it looks pretty cool, right? You can also suggest if you think that there might be better background that we can use on our life better than this one. Okay, so today we talk about how to achieve more at work, and I also share some experiences. And this happened because when I visited Google Prague, and we talk about this topic, that it's not about only productivity, it's not about success in terms of fame or fame or money, or the number of sales that you get in a year, but this is about how we able to achieve different things at the same time. First, our health, our physical well-being, second, our relationship, third, our work, and the fourth one is our own mind. So if we manage to achieve the four aspects together, that will lead to contentment and happiness. And by the end of doing something, if you feel happy, if you feel fulfilled, if you feel content, wouldn't it be already considered the biggest achievement, right? Even though you probably will earn a lot, like $1 million as a profit, but if you feel like you should earn 3 million and 1 million is too little, you can't be happy with any amount of money that you earn. You can't be happy with any amount of achievement that you got if you never really feel content in what you achieve. And this can also be easily achieved if you consider multiple aspects. First, your health, your physical well-being. Second, relationship with people around you, even sometimes your competitors or sometimes your partners, suppliers, and so on. And third, your work, your performance, and the last one is your mental well-being or your mind. So today we are going to talk about this, and this is going to be the first part of mind success. Okay, the second part we might cover it the next coming weeks is like how you actually be more mindful in everything that you do in your workplace and also in life as well, even though you have to work a lot, even though you have to handle this responsibility very, very hard. So if you have any questions, you're welcome to share, and I hope to see you again next time. I'm Monk John, and this is my stories. Today we talk about how to achieve more at work, and we talk about a curriculum called Mind Success, and we need to talk more on it next time as well. Okay, see you later on, and thank you and goodbye.